Alrighty, today we are going to be talking about questions and answers regarding personal fitness. I quickly looked up and compiled a list of 50 questions, and I'm going to give you my answers to them that I personally believe are the best answers that I can give given my personal knowledge on the subjects in question. Anyways, this is with Jacked Couch Potato. This guy right here, that's me. And this video is ultimately going to be a test to see if this is the style content that you guys would like to see in the future. Anyways, let's get into it. Questions and answers, Jacked Couch Potato. All right. How often should I work out to see results? Well, this question is actually quite complicated in the sense that it's very vague. How often should I work out to see results? This question neglects intensity of workout, volume of workout, and all the other factors that play into working out. Also, it neglects the factors of the results. Like, what results do you want? See, it can be completely different depending on what style, what is the outcome that you wish to get from working out. So, if you're looking to lose weight versus if you're looking to get strong, ultimately, how often should you work out to see those certain results is going to be drastically different. Like a marathon runner versus a person who is casually in the gym looking to lose weight. The workout time period is definitely going to be different. And that's why it's hard to answer this first question. But I'll do my best to give you the best answer that I possibly can. So, how often should I work out to see results? Well, I'm a big believer in the idea of going with how you feel. And if you're working out and you feel like you're getting tired and you feel like you've done a good workout, then I think that's when you should call it quits. Like when you feel proud of yourself and that you've done a good workout. And I know this can be a little bit of a tricky answer because beginners who are just getting into it may not be able to know when or if they've had a good workout, but ultimately that is going to come with time. And I think that it's your body, and nobody's going to know if or how hard you've worked out and for how long you've worked out, and nobody's going to know these factors and how they affect you to the degree that you know. And I'm a big I'm a big advocate for people learning to basically know themselves and know how their body acts and responds to different workouts and stimulus that they impress upon it. And that being said, I believe that it is disempowering for me to tell you how long you should work out to see results, because ultimately everybody's going to be different, and the results that everybody's looking for are going to differ depending on the person And the workout criteria and styles are also going to differ given the individual involved. So it's a very case to case basis. And I believe personally that the best way to answer this is to advocate for you guys to get a better understanding of how your body works, and you determine how long of a workout feels comfortable for you. And that's the best response I can give you at my current level and my current understanding when it comes to health and fitness, getting in shape, etc. I hope that explains this to a certain degree. All right, number 2. What's the best type of exercise for weight loss? This is actually funny. I again, I'm thinking of this question in so many different ways that it's tricky to actually answer it in a way that is, well, straightforward. Like, you do this, right? Like, the best exercise is, well, it's saying the best type of exercise. All right. What's the best type of exercise for weight loss? All right. Sorry, I'm thinking. Well, again, it's going to depend on different factors. How fast do you want to lose the weight? And there's other factors that play into it. See, weight loss is all encompassing. It's not just the fact that you do an exercise and you get all the weight loss. See, that contributes. Also, there's water weight that contributes to that. So you can take multiple different routes to lose weight, and but it's asking specifically for an exercise for weight loss. I'm going to have to go with. It's so tricky because it's all relative to each individual's personal preferences. See, there are a bunch of different exercises out there that are going to be very, very, very beneficial towards losing weight, but there's only a select few of those that are going to cater towards the interests of the individuals involved. So for me personally, I think Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is a wonderful and absolutely wonderful exercise for weight loss, especially rolling and stuff like that, because you're you're actively like doing a cardiovascular exercise, and it's fun because you get to challenge yourself in ways that running, the linear aspect of running, may not challenge you. There's more diverse ways. But then again, there's some people that really like running, and there's some people that really love to swim, for example. And ultimately, it's going to be up to the individual and their personal preferences, because there are a lot of different exercises specifically designed for weight loss. But if you're a person that doesn't really care what exercise you're doing, but you don't necessarily want to work strenuously hard on these exercises, and you kind of just want to casually pace through them, I would have to say steady state cardio at a medium difficulty for around an hour a day. It's not a lot, don't worry. It's medium difficulty, so you should be able to pace yourself effectively. Just make sure that you don't eat all the calories that you burned after. And yeah, that's basically my answer to this question. It's, again, a very vague question that doesn't really get into specifics, but again, that's the best I can give you. You're gonna have to factor in different factors like the individual's personal preferences. Obviously, I covered that, and the other things like, again, for weight loss, oftentimes you're gonna see a repetitive there's a very repetitive set to weight loss programs. It's like, do this for X amount of time and blah, 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 blah. Over a long period of time, you do this, you're going to get good results. And this is good. However, I personally believe in a more balanced approach. Like, you want to limit the amount of weight loss specific exercises that you do, and you limit this by factoring in other factors such as eating less, maybe cutting down on the sugar specifically, because sugar gets stored directly as adipose tissue, which is just fat tissue. And that fat tissue is it has the greatest amount of, well, weight. Anyway, let's get on to the next question. I'm going to be on each question forever if I keep this pace. Whatever. I want to get into depth. I want to really assess each question and do my best to provide the best answers that I possibly can to you guys, so that I don't miss any aspect, if you will, of the question, because I want to ensure that everybody is getting the most out of this video, and I want to ensure that I am giving the highest quality information that I possibly can based off of where I am, and that's the goal. Anyway, how do I build muscle effectively? Well, again, you can build muscle effectively in multiple different ways, but most of the ways are ultimately going to be in regards to different factors than simply the exercising portion of it. For example, sleeping. You want to make sure that you're getting enough sleep so that your body can repair the broken tissues that you broke during the exercises. And then they can heal and build up and stuff like that. Sleep is a very important one. Also, nutrition, obviously. There is a bunch of different conflicting literature about everything out there. And I'm sure when you dive into the rabbit hole of getting fit, you are going to find one person that says this, one person that says this, and it's going to be really challenging to decipher which one is going to be the best decision for you. And I don't blame you. There is so much information out there, and it's hard to choose what the best option is. So, how do I build muscle effectively? Well, given the conflicting literature, specifically about what I'm going to be discussing right now, about the protein intake, and some say that you should have 1 gram per pound of body weight, which is just, if you're 100 pounds, you should be intaking 100 grams of protein a day. And that's cool. That's kind of like the generalization of how to not miss the mark. But again, this is obviously going to be very, very, very case specific. If you are an individual who is 300 pounds plus, you're not going to be wanting to intake 300 pounds of protein. It's going to be absolutely absurd, and it's going to put you in a calorie surplus, which is not what you want. You want to be in a calorie deficit to help lose the weight. So this is definitely case-to-case basis dependent, and there's a lot of different factors that go into this. Obviously, there's nuance in making the most appropriate decisions for the most appropriate times, but generally it's 1 gram per pound of body weight a day. But there's also literature that says you don't need that much, and I'm leaning towards the one that says you don't need that much. So the general rule of thumb is 0.7. So what you would do is you would multiply your weight by 0.7. So I'm just going to get out a calculator right now. I have my phone right here. I know. I can't multiply in sevens in my head. Sorry, my bad. So, all right, let's pick a person who's 200 pounds. So you're going to take 200 pounds and you're going to multiply that by 0.7. And 0.7 is 140. So ideally, if you are 200 pounds, you're probably going to want to have a baseline protein intake of 140 grams. And that's basically what you're going to want. And these are some of the ducks, if you will. Like these are some of the ducks you want to shoot off, if you will. Like you want to line up all your ducks. Put them in a row so that you know you're doing everything right, and then you can start focusing on the effectiveness of your workouts. The workouts ultimately are going to be the last priority, obviously depending on different factors. If you already have your ducks lined up in a row, you got everything from sleep, nutrition, your mental state, right? Everything like that. Then you can start focusing on the exercising. But ultimately, how do I build muscle effectively? Well, I would say get your ducks lined up in a row. So that's going to be sleep. Make sure you're sleeping enough. Make sure you're drinking water. Water is very important. Also, make sure you are eating 0.7 of your daily, 0.7 of your multiplied by your weight in grams of protein. I know it's kind of complicated the way I put it, but honestly, all you got to do is say it's 70% of your weight and put that into grams and put that into protein, grams, and then eat that every day, and then you're good. But honestly, you a lot of people are worried about muscle atrophy. Yes, muscle atrophy, which is just a simple way of saying your muscles are breaking down. Well, not a simple way, I guess. Anyway, sorry, I'm looking at the time. We're already 17 minutes in, and I'm on the third question. It's gonna take a long time to answer all these questions. I apologize, but I hope that I'm going into the most amount of depth that I can on each question, just to ensure that every one of you are getting the best information I can give. Anyways, get your ducks lined up in a row. That's the how do I build muscle effectively. That's probably my best tip, is get your ducks lined up in a row, and that's everything else before you start to work out. And then we can get into the working out aspect later throughout this video. Yeah, that's all. If you have everything else doing that, then you're going to be good. Sleep, nutrition, drinking, liquids, stuff like that. And mental state. Make sure that's right too, because you can't build a lot of muscle in a shitty mental state. That's not a good place to try to build muscle. Anyways, question 4. Should I do cardio before or after strength training? Well, again, there is a multitude of conflicting scientific literature on this topic. It's like some say it doesn't matter when you do cardio. Some say that cardio drastically affects strength training. Some say you can't develop endurance while trying to develop strength. And others say that you should focus on one at a time instead. And then there's other people that say stuff like you should focus on strength because strength is the cornerstone of developing more a greater ability to perform endurance tasks. And I'm ultimately going to be leaning towards the strength is definitely going to be the cornerstone towards developing a better base for getting into endurance training. But Anyways, I digressed so hard there, didn't I? Okay, so should I do cardio before or after strength training? Okay, should I do cardio before or after strength training? I'm reading this like it's a riddle. It's funny. It's kind of is a riddle to me, honestly. It's like, how can I solve this in a way that is such a good way of solving it that puts all the overarching concepts into one, and it really helps people decipher between all the factors that go into this. Okay, so honestly, I don't think it really matters. If I'm being real, some people will say you should do cardio on an entirely different day and then do strength training on a different day, but a lot of people do cardio to warm up and then hit the weights, and I think that's a universal tried and tested thing that people do, and it works for them, and that's fine too. Some people like to do cardio after, and that's tried and tested and fine. It doesn't really change or affect it in the long run. Like ultimately, if somebody is predisposed towards building a disproportionate amount of strength in comparison to the majority, it ain't gonna matter if they hop on the treadmill before or after doing strength training. They are gonna get freakishly strong. Like, it doesn't really matter. So, I'm just gonna say it doesn't really matter. And it's your preference. Again, just you choose. And I don't think that people should get so stressed about all these factors that play into it. It's really just about, it really boils down to individual preferences and learning how your body works, because ultimately nobody else can tell you how you feel. You kind of got to be that person to step up and be like, you know what, this workout's kind of hard for me. I'm gonna I'm gonna tone it down before I get injured. See, nobody can. It's very hard. It's very hard for somebody, for an onlooker coming from the outside, to look and say, "Oh my gosh, that person is getting tired." And if he keeps going this at this rate, he's going to get injured. Or, "Oh my gosh, this person is coming in a bad mood, and his bad mood's going to affect the way he trains, and ultimately he's going to get hurt." Like, it's just too hard for an outsider to look in and see what's really going on. And that's why I think it's very beneficial to do some introspection when it comes to this stuff. Anyway, it doesn't matter. All right. 5. What's the ideal diet for fat loss? Sorry. This is funny. Get all the diets out of your head. Get all the diets out of your head. Just get rid of them. And pick the diet that you can stick to and you enjoy. Because that's the diet you're going to stick to. Honestly, personally, my philosophy is eat whatever you want. Eat whatever you want, so long as it's in moderation, you're not overindulging. Don't limit yourself to any food groups, because that's bad. It's kind of like pills, you know what I mean? All right, I'll explain the pill thing. So when you take a medication or a pill, what sometimes happens is it affects other parts, and then the other affected parts, you're going to need to take another pill to kind of regulate and bring that negative affected part down to the baseline where your body's normally at. And eventually it gets to the point in some cases where you have to take pill after pill after pill after pill after pill just to be normal again. And ultimately the reality is you probably could have avoided all that stuff by not taking the pills in the first place. But I'm not judging. I'm not wanting to judge. I'm just saying this is it can happen. And I'm making the comparison, the parallel between the pill scenario to diets. And this can be incredibly common amongst different diets like keto and other diets, carnivore diets that are food group restricting. See, your body needs to have around like an all encompassing sorry. Your body needs to have a lot of different places to get food and nutrients. And if you cut a major piece of this out, like a food group, you're going to have to get the nutrients from somewhere else. And that is most likely going to be from supplements and other things that could potentially cause harm to you. And ultimately, it's just not worth it. So don't cut out food groups unless you want to go down a road of having to take supplement after supplement after supplement, just like the pill after pill after pill after pill, just to counterbalance all the negative effects that you've done to yourself without having to essentially looking back and saying, well, I could have avoided all this if I just didn't do it in the start. Anyway, on to the next one. Just the ideal diet for you for fat loss is definitely going to be limiting sugar, because sugar gets directly put into adipose tissue by your body, which is just fat. Again, adipose tissue is fat. Sugar gets transmutated into fat, and that's bad. So the more fat you ingest, the more fat you intake, the more sugar you intake, the more sugar you ingest, the more fat you're going to be putting onto yourself, and that's not good. So limit the amount of sugar you have. And yeah, alrighty. How can I improve my flexibility? Flexibility is actually an interesting topic. I like flexibility. Personally, I am hypermobile throughout my whole entire body, which many people say has downsides because you could have an increased risk of injury potentially. But personally, I've never had this negative side effect. I've actually been significantly more injury resistant, despite my many, many, many injuries, which is funny actually. But my many injuries are definitely not caused by my hyper mobility throughout my whole entire body. They're caused more on that's funny. It plays into that more on my stupidity in the moment. Like maybe karma would bite me in the ass and I would be like, warming up, and I'd make fun of somebody and then I'd snap my ankle or something like that. That's that's how I get injured. Yeah. Anyway, or yeah, and okay. Or previous injuries acting to reduce the stability of the overall joint and having it more frequently occur, if you will. But how can I improve my flexibility? Well, flexibility is actually an interesting thing, and there's a lot of different factors again, but I think it's important to not negate different aspects of flexibility. See, your muscles have an agonist and an antagonist. Your agonist is basically, so picture this: if I'm doing a bicep curl, If I'm doing a bicep curl, my agonist is going to be the main muscular driver of that motion. And the main muscular driver in a bicep curl is, you guessed it, that's the biceps. So the biceps are going to be the main driver. So let's say I want to stretch my biceps. Well, the antagonist of the biceps is going to be the triceps. And see, the agonist and antagonist both almost synergistically act to regulate themselves whilst you are doing various exercises, or in this case, stretching. So, a lot of people, when they're stretching, they like to negate the antagonist in a sense. So, let's just think of them as opposites, or regulatory muscles, because they help regulate the muscle that you're currently using. So the regulatory muscle, let's say this. You're stretching the main muscle that is involved in contributing to the stretch that you want to stretch. So you want to stretch your biceps. Stretch, 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 right? You can do the classic bicep stretch where you put your hand, oh yeah, the camera's right here. My bad. I'm getting used to this new webcam. So, hand like this. Yeah, and then you put it all the way back. Wait. All the way back. All the way back. Come on. Where's the camera? Jeez. I am so bad at this. Where's the camera? All right, you know what? I think you get the point. You take your hand and you put it on the wall behind you and you stretch your bicep. That's basically it. Yeah. Okay. So a lack of flexibility could be attributed to different factors, such as the lack of strength in the regulatory muscle, the lack of flexibility in the regulatory muscle, or the lack of flexibility in the synergistic muscles that act ancillary in an ancillary fashion, so they just work with the main muscle that you're trying to stretch. So if I'm trying to stretch my quadriceps muscle, let's specifically say my rectus femoris, and in order to stretch my rectus femoris, I need to, which is just the front of the leg, thigh, okay? Front of the leg, thigh. I'm not trying to sound complicated or anything like that. Okay, so you take your rectus femoris, which is the front of the thigh. Okay, I'm trying to stretch this. So a main way of stretching this is to lay down on your side, grab your ankle, and almost hoist your leg behind your back. And this is a great stretch for the quadriceps. But here's an example of what can impede on your ability to improve that flexibility in, per se, your rectus femoris, which is the front of your thigh. Front of your thigh. Don't forget the front of your thigh. A muscle that acts almost synergistically with this would be the iliopsoas. And that's the hip, if you think about the hip. Now, if the hip is so tight and you cannot physically, like, raise your leg in to kick in a frontwards plane? I think so. Frontwards? Frontal? No. Yeah, frontal or transverse? It's probably the same, honestly. No, the frontal cuts you this way. The transverse is this way. It doesn't really matter. It intersects between the two. Anyway, so, and it's all relative. Anyway, I'm in my thoughts again. Where was I? All right. How can I improve my flexibility? Well, you can improve the flexibility of the ancillary muscles that act synergistically to help with the original muscle that you're trying to stretch. And that's my complicated answer. My simple answer is work on stretching the muscles and strengthening the muscles that you don't think you need to in order to stretch the muscle that you think you need to. So if you think you need to stretch your biceps and try stretching your triceps. Try stretching your shoulder. It might help with the flexibility of your biceps. You never know. Anyways, that's my answer to that one. Gosh, it takes such a long time to do these. All right. How many sets and reps should I do for muscle growth? Again, nonsense. This is, actually, I want to talk about this. This is a very common trap that many people in the fitness industry fall into. The experts say this, everybody says something else, and in reality, it doesn't matter because it is proven. Like, if you look at this, there's a wide range of different diverse athletes that do different reps and ranges of motion and blah, 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 all of these factors that fit into these the category of working out. There's a lot of different athletes that do 8 to 12 reps. There's a lot of athletes that do 4 to 6 reps. There's a lot of athletes that do 20 plus reps, and all these athletes grow like a weed. And some of them do all that and don't grow like a weed. So distilling a factor that plays into everything, it's ultimately going to be how your body responds to different rep ranges. And you're only going to know that if you try. So my advice on this question is I can't answer it. I can answer it to the best ability I can, but I can't answer it for you. How many sets and reps should I do for muscle growth? Well, you got to figure that out. And I can give you tools that you can do to figure it out, but ultimately my base guide is, because if you look at it statistically, it's going to take forever to figure out what rep range works for you the best, because you're going to have to track it over the course of 2 or 3 months and then find a baseline, a median, or whatever you want to call it, and then you're going to have to use this information and then do measurements, and by the time you've done the measurements, perhaps given your current fitness state, you might have went through your newbie gains phase, and then made a significant portion of muscle, which you assumed was because of the rep range, and then you go into the next test over a few months or whatever, and you end up seeing that it's not as powerful or as potent because it's not a lot of rep ranges. There's not as many reps. And you see it doesn't give you as much results, so you automatically assume that a high set fitness program is going to give you the most bang for your buck, when in reality, there's no correlation. So, again, my best tip on this is just trust the process. Don't question it. Work out to the best of your ability. Perhaps get the best of both worlds, all worlds. Try different ranges of motion, try different rep ranges. Do biceps, but in different rep ranges with different amounts of weight, and do that every day. Don't kill yourself over it. Like, don't go so hard you can't physically move your arms, but experiment with it, right? Get the best of all worlds. Play around with it. And ultimately just trust the process. Make sure your intentions are good, that you intend on building big biceps or whatever, because muscle growth, right? Everybody assumes biceps. It's just a universal, easy thing to think of when given examples. I could get into quads, but I mean, who wants to sit here and talk about getting big legs? Not me. Obviously, I want to talk about getting the guns, the big biceps, right? Yeah. Anyways, that's my answer on how many sets and reps should I do for muscle growth. It doesn't matter, because it doesn't really matter, honestly. So long as you're doing the best you can, you're going to build muscle. Anyway, Oh, and obviously the different factors play into this. Like line your ducks up in a row, like I was talking about earlier. Okay, back to this. What's the difference between strength training and bodybuilding? This is a fun one to answer, and I can answer it. I can answer it pretty well, actually. Strength training is about getting stronger. Bodybuilding is about building your body. In the most basic terms, it's just strength training can be seen in many different forms. So is bodybuilding. Bodybuilding can be seen in many different forms. Obviously, they go hand in hand because to build one's body is to make one's body stronger. And to strengthen one's body is to build one's body. So the difference between them is, well, it can be quite significant, obviously. But if you want to be strong, you prioritize what you want, essentially. If you want to look good, you are going to have to prioritize building your body, and that's going to be and that's just going to be from, again, so many factors that go into this bodybuilding. Like, there's a lot. And I know see, you can do bodybuilding based off of a strength routine if you have the right intention and mentality for it. You can also build immense amounts of strength off of a bodybuilding routine. So they definitely go hand in hand. You can't bodybuild without getting stronger to an extent, and you cannot get stronger to an extent without building your body in some way, shape, or form. So it's kind of pointless to try to choose one over the other when you're ultimately going to get the best of both worlds, regardless of which one you choose. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say there's not a massive difference between them other than the difference in intention. So the strength training, you have the intention to get stronger. And with bodybuilding, you have the intention to improve your physical appearance. And that's basically it. That's my way of putting it. Alrighty. How long should my workouts be? Again, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. It has very little impact on your results. Well, actually, I'm gonna rephrase that. See. I think my dad might be home. Dad, you home? Mm-hmm. All right, I'm making a video. All right. I set up this slide, and is it okay that you're in this? Yeah, it's fine. All right, cool. Cause I'm probably gonna post this. I've already done the hard work anyway. You want to come say hi to the camera or not? All right, get in here, buddy.
Hello, everybody.
You gotta talk to the mic.
Hello, everybody. I'm Sash's dad.
Yeah, that's my name, Jack Couch Potato. Sash. It's short form for Alexander. I'm Russian, so I'm really strong.
Mm-hmm. Duh.
But I do not do dope. Don't worry.
Bye.
So I definitely, I'm all natural, guys.
Milk does the body good.
Yeah. Love you, Dad. All right. Anyways, as I was saying, how long should my workouts be? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all, in the slightest. It does not matter. Okay, So, because if you think about it, the length of a workout should not contribute to its effectiveness in any way, shape, or form. See, if you make a workout super effective within the time frame of 30 minutes, you're ultimately going to get the same results as if that workout was spread across 9 hours. And it's just going to be about preference. It's going to be about current life situation, all these different factors that are going to play into this because, well, I basically, well, not me, but there's basically a formula. There's a formula that states your input always has to be less than your output if you want results and if you want to get ahead of the curve. So if you're looking to get ahead of the curve, get ahead of the majority. The majority is going to be kind of the the majority is going to be more likely to not know this principle. Your input needs to be less than your output. And a lot of people struggle with this because they think, especially going into exercising and all this fun stuff, that they need to do more, 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 more. And they are going to do more, 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 more. But then they're going to look at themselves and they're going to be like, well, nothing's changed. I've got the same results despite doing twice the amount of work. And this is where the problems come in because essentially what they've done is they've doubled their input, but their output has stayed the same. And that's a problem because that means the overall efficiency of what they're doing has dropped significantly. And that's what you're going to want to factor in. So, what I do when I'm exercising is I keep this in mind. I come up with certain exercises that are unique and they target multiple different muscle groups in specific ranges of motion and ways that I want them to target, essentially, so that I'm getting the most bang for my buck without having to do 100 million different isolation exercises to get the same result. So I effectively divide my time by 100 million. Obviously, not 100 million, but in this example, I use this to kind of describe the benefits of not just planning your workouts, but really thinking long and hard about what you're getting out of them. And that's important. So it's not about how long should my workouts be, it's about how effective should they be. And that's what you should and that's what you should rephrase that question to. How do I make my workouts as effective as I can and as efficient? You want to produce the most amount of results or get the greatest amount of output with the littlest or minimum amount of input. And that's ultimately how you are going to get ahead and see the results that you want to see. Again, you want to do your research on this because it's your body and only you know how your body works, and you're going to have to figure out what you're going to have to do in order to do it. Because I'm not always going to be here. Your coach is not always going to be there. Your mentors, the people that help you, maybe in the gym, they're not always going to be there to help you, all right? And if you always rely on them, then you're going to be put in a situation in the future where you're not going to have them to rely on. And that's going to be hard. So if you ask me, when it comes to the health and fitness industry and stuff like that, there's so many people that are going to prey on your little understanding and knowledge about these topics and stuff. And it is by far so much better. It is so much better to have the knowledge yourself. And I'm not saying don't have mentors. I'm not saying don't have teachers, because teachers are very great. You can bounce ideas off of them. You can talk to them. They can help develop training programs and ultimately give you some support, be your corner guy, if you will, and be able to help you make the decisions that you're not going to want to make in the moments that are difficult, but are going to have to in order to provide a more substantial approach towards longevity, in a sense of the ring guy throwing in the towel when the guy is going to get potentially destroyed. Like their head's going to be pounded in and they're going to have brain damage for the rest of their life. So the coach throws in the towel and saves the guy. And I know that's a huge ego hit, but ultimately, what's a fight? What's a fight going to do for you if it only leads to years and years and years of recovery down the road? Anyway, it's kind of what you want, but you want to know yourself and you want to do the research so that you can better know yourself. And it's an internal process, and there's a lot of introspection that goes into it. And ultimately, nobody can give you the best solution. The only person that's going to be able to do that is you. And you're only going to be able to do that if you have a solid base to work off of. And that solid base to work off of is going to come from a greater amount of understanding than you currently have. Anyways, that's my answer. How efficient should your workouts be? Not how long they should be. All right. I think I'm going to cut this short after this question because it's already been 52 minutes now ish. Yeah. So I'm going to cut it short. So it's probably going to be a little over an hour, this video, which is fine. I might break this into, so this whole series will be like 5 hours, which is fine. And these are raw, so I'm not going to be editing these because I don't have the time to do that, unfortunately. And I don't have the money to pay anybody to edit my videos for me, so it is what it is. I'm going to be working on making them better in the future, obviously, but currently, as I'm enrolled in college and everything like that, I have a busy schedule, and I'm kind of doing this on the side to see if I can make something of myself, make a name for myself, and potentially profit off of that, because this economical situation we've found ourselves into, and I'm not just talking about me, but the whole entire world, and how everything's kind of going to hell in a handbasket. It's harder for younger ones, especially like me, to pave a path in this world. And I know that's a really pessimistic outlook on it, but I can only be in so many places at once, and my attention is significantly divided, and I'm sorry if I can't be posting all the time, but I will try. I'll post as much as I can in the little available time that I have, and I will do my best to provide the best information that I possibly can, and I hope that you guys appreciate this and support me along this journey, in a sense, because it's not just my journey, it's your journey as well. Anyway, on to question 10. Is it okay to lift weights every day? Yes. And it's okay to not as well. See, some people, some of you, think that you need to work out every single day, day in and day out. Gotta work out, and if I miss a day of working out, I am gonna lose my gains. And that's not true. Even if you miss a week, heck, even if you miss a month, even if you miss 2 months, it's not gonna hurt you that much in the long run. Okay? Because you're gonna get it back. You're gonna get back into it, and you're gonna be fine. You just gotta keep going back to it. That's all. It's you can see the connection with a memory. If you forget something, You don't just beat yourself up for forgetting and say, I'm never going to remember it, and then think your memory's gone forever. You accept that I don't remember it right now, but it's going to come back later. And then it does, right? So it's the same kind of principle when you're working out. Sure, you take time off, you might get sick, and you might lose some muscle. But just because you lost that muscle doesn't mean that it's never coming back. It just means that you're going to have to get it back, and you're going to have to wait a little bit to get it back. It's not a bad thing. Anyways, is it okay to lift weights every day? Yes, it's okay to lift weights every day. But the more important underlying principle that goes into this question is the opposite, because this I can see through this question, and it's basically asking, what if I miss a day of lifting weights? And I can see this, but again, it all ties back into the efficiency equation. The what do you call it? The input versus the output. Yes, you gotta lower the input and raise the output. And if you can find ways to do that, then you're ultimately going to be more successful. Again, I can only input so much as one individual. And through that, I can only output so much as well. And I have to figure out means by which I can lessen my inputs and create greater amounts of output. And that's what I'm doing with this channel. So yeah, yes, it is totally okay to lift weights every day. You can lift weights every day for multiple hours a day. I used to do that. It's fine. And if you're worried about overtraining, well, don't be. Don't be worried about overtraining. A very, very, very few amount of people actually overtrain, because your body has mechanisms within it that essentially stop you from overtraining. It is hard to overtrain. And I'm not joking. If you think you're overtraining, if you think you've pushed to absolute failure, you have 30% more in the tank, I guarantee you. And then once you find a way to do 30% more, you got 15 left in the tank after that. And then once you think you hit the 15, you got 7.5% left in the tank. And you can see where this goes. It just keeps going smaller and smaller and smaller. But ultimately, the base principle is that you aren't overtraining. Do not worry about overtraining. Worry about getting hurt. Be smart with your exercises. And more importantly, be smart about how you go into each workout. See, if you are not prepared for the workout, and if you are not gonna... a great example of this is, I know I can dart around. I tend to do that, but I'm trying to cover a lot of topics in this first video as I can, and cover them in a lot of depth. So I'm just taking these basic questions to kind of put in and formulate different ideas around them that are going to help everybody in the health and fitness industry, no matter where you may or may not be. Anyway, so basic principles are obviously going to be governed around the fact that it's the input versus output. And again, if you fall into the trap of doing significantly greater amount of input to try to increase your output, what's happening is you are going to be disproportionately increasing your risk to reward ratio at the same time. That's a funny way of putting it, actually, because if you do more, there's more chances of getting hurt, because you have more volume of things that you could get hurt on, essentially. And that's important. Oh my. Yeah, you can tell I'm getting tired. Yep. So just be careful with that. Again, if it feels wrong, trust your gut. Don't do it. If somebody tells you to get under the bar with 100 and 120 pounds and you get under the bar and you feel the weight and your gut tells you not to lift it, but you're already in the position and your friend is hyping you up and everything, just get out of there. Just say, you know what, man, I just don't feel like doing it. And who cares? Like, it's better that somebody thinks that you are weak than you hurt yourself and then you think you're weak and you know you're weak because you hurt yourself and then you can't lift anything for months after because, well, you hurt yourself and now you're weak. So it's better for somebody to think you're weak than you actually mess yourself up and become weak by trying to prove them wrong. Anyway, that's where I'm going to leave it off, and I hope you enjoyed this. And if you are interested in hearing more from me, then be sure to subscribe, maybe share my videos if you could. I would really appreciate that because, again, I do believe I have a lot of information, good information that I can provide to you guys, and I think it's important. I think that I have some unique perspectives on getting in shape and overall personal development and stuff along those lines. And I feel like I can definitely contribute in a meaningful way, but I can only contribute in a meaningful way if you guys give me the chance to do so. And it would really help me out if you share this video, maybe share my channel with other people, and who knows if you got anybody that could help me out, stuff like that, right? And obviously, the more you guys do for me, the more I'm gonna do for you, and that's and that is it, and that's the truth. Yeah. The more you guys do for me, the more I'm gonna do for you, and yeah. Good luck, guys. Good luck on your personal fitness journeys, and I really hope that you got something out of this, and I hope that I was able to provide some solid information when it comes to these, not just these questions, obviously, but more some overarching themes in fitness that can definitely contribute to your success. And I really hope that I was able to provide that. Anyways, good luck, guys. Good luck on your journeys. See you next time. Jacked Couch Potato, out.